Hey guys, welcome back to the latest episode of the Growing a Dental Practice podcast. I am your host, Mike Kennan. In today's episode, I am joined by Sherrine Washington, founder and owner of Real Talk Sales Consulting. Sherrine is a former therapist turned award-winning multi-million-dollar master sales coach and trainer. With Sherrine's help, dentists and treatment coordinators can learn how to close 5 cases on the same day of the consultation and get paid in full. So welcome to the show, Sherrine. Thank you for joining me today. And how are you?
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for having me as a guest. And I am awesome. I am doing
Yes,
awesome.
you are awesome. Yes.
What's that now?
So you are awesome.
Oh, stop. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
No worries. So I'd like to. I start this with every guest, but I'd love to learn, more about yourself, your background, and I guess like how did you get to this point? Like, why are we talking here today?
Yeah. So without boring you to death, because my story goes back. I'm like, it does. Like, oh Lord, how much time we got? Well, in a nutshell, I've always been in sales my entire career, from the time that I was in high school to the time I was in undergrad to the time I was in college, getting my graduate degree. I always worked in sales. And Real Talk came about more so from two very pivotal times in my life. One specifically when I was working as a cognitive behavioral therapist. So I was a therapist for 10 years. But more specifically, personal to me was when I was looking to have bariatric surgery. I'm a recovering food addict, 14 years. And 14 years ago, I was at the deepest, darkest point in my life, was over 250 pounds. And I did what a lot of patients do when it comes for dentists, when it comes to deciding you want to do something. For patients of dental offices, the patient starts with online picking up the phone. And I went through what I think a lot of potential patients go through in dentistry, was that I was dismissed over the phone when I started calling around looking for a bariatric doctor. And the one thing that people would say to me was, well, you got to come in for a consultation. You have to come in for a consultation. No one cared about Sherrine and my story and what I wanted. And so I say all that to say, after months and months of trying to find someone to help me with weight loss surgery, I finally reached someone who I believe is a guardian angel, and I can't find her. I've tried to find her all these years. But she picked up the phone. She was a front office coordinator, and she did one thing that changed my life forever. She asked me my name. No one had asked me my name when I had called other offices. This happens in dentistry. And I said, hi, I'm Sherrine. I'm looking to have weight loss surgery. And she said, can you tell me your name? And I said, my name is Sherrine. And she said, wow, that is a beautiful name. Is there a meaning? I said, yes, it means sweet. It's a Persian name. And she said, I'm so glad that you found us today. Let me grab a pen and a piece of paper. And from that moment, and I remember it like it was yesterday, I exhaled. And 45 minutes later, she took me on this amazing journey over the phone and convinced me in 45 minutes to have weight loss surgery. I thought she was in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was actually 1,000 miles away in Oklahoma. And she convinced me to hop on a plane and have weight loss surgery. And that story, and because of her, I lost over 100 pounds, and I've kept it off, by the way. But that powerful, life-changing phone call, the process she took me through, and my clinical background, I kind of combined the two, and I came up with the R, the E, the A, and the L of Real Talk Selling. So my sales methodology is purely formed around my story and my clinical background.
I love that story. It's such a powerful story because I think it's a you tell that story, I think, in a keynote speech, and
Yeah.
the video's on your website.
Mhm.
And that's where me and Sheila first discovered you, because you start off with a really great opening. I
Oh,
think it's
about the
about
love affair.
having the love affair, and we're watching it thinking, where is this going? Like, where is this going? But then you're like, boom, is it the chocolate Haagen-Dazs
It's
ice
the mint
cream?
chocolate chip. Yes, it's the mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Fantastic.
That today
It's a
is still my
fantastic
favorite.
opening. Yes, is it good?
It's
And it
still
should
my
be.
favorite.
But no,
I don't hide
but
and
I love,
seek and eat it anymore,
yeah, fair. You eat it proudly. Perfect. No, because that was, yeah, so that's a fantastic way to open a speech anyway. But that story of struggling to find a practice or an office that would actually, just the fact that they didn't, no one asks for your name is astounding. And almost that, I totally appreciate the dismissive thing, because it's a very prominent thing in dentistry. I phoned up a practice the other day, and they're very dismissive, and it almost sounds like they're doing you a favor by answering the phone, and they're not.
Mm.
They just don't get it that they are. I'm not saying they're to serve, because they've got a job and they've got other things going on, but part of their job is to sort of welcome the patients to the practice, or even on the phone, and it can have such a big sort of powerful. It either sells you on the practice, or turns you off. And I think at the moment it's very much the more than often than not it's going to be the off thing. But so what you're doing is fantastic.
Thank
So
you.
that gives me a great insight into like how you got. So I was almost going to ask you again, like, so how did you go from therapist to the coach? But I guess that is the story, isn't it? It's such a life
Yeah.
changing story.
Yeah. So a lot of people, I think, know me from my background at Clear Choice. I worked at Clear Choice for almost 6 years. I was a top producer at Clear Choice Dental Implant Center. And there's no doubt about it, my love of dentistry happened at Clear Choice because of the amazing work that they do. But I think if you would find any of my previous managers from Clear Choice, they would tell you that I never followed the rules. I was kind of doing my own thing. It's like, they trained me how to do a sales process, but like, I was like, this doesn't really work for me. And so, unbeknownst to me at that time, I was doing real talk, and I just didn't know it. You know, I knew that if I was going to sell a $50,000 treatment, that I had to tap into the mind of the patient first. And I did something that I won't say on during this podcast that was not in line with what they wanted me to do. There was nothing wrong with it, but how I presented fees was very differently, because I knew that I only have an hour. And so I had to kind of create a process that felt very authentic, and it felt very real, and it allowed me to build trust very, very quickly. And it worked. I mean, it just worked. And I remember when I first got hired at Clear Choice, my manager at the time, who turned out to be a really good friend years later, said, "Sherrine, you're never going to get people to buy the same day. That doesn't typically happen. You're going to get people that are going to want to go home, and you'll have to work the leads." And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. And I was closing cases on the same day. And sort of started something, what we would call same, what we would say a stay today. That was like my verbiage that kind of went viral. I have a stay today, because I built enough rapport and enough trust and was able to get those pain points out, that at the end it was kind of like, okay, well, let's go. What else is left? I got to do this.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, it's so good. You're such a rule breaker. Yeah, you do come across as a rule breaker.
Yeah.
You're a trend. You're a trend setter, not a trend follower.
Oh, I like that. I
There
like
you
that.
go. You can add that to your LinkedIn profile.
There you go. There you go. I love that.
But that's good. So we've obviously talked about your journey, how you kind of created Real Talk, and we've talked about treatment coordinators quite a bit. But if we could just sort of take it back a little bit, could you just remind me of what a treatment coordinator is, just for people that may not know for certain, and kind of where they fit in the practice? Like, where do they fit into an office?
That's a great question, because I think that there is a warped definition for a treatment coordinator, and they're called different things depending upon the office. I see a treatment coordinator as a patient concierge. In fact, that is the title that I actually recommend. If I'm training an office and I'm training someone who is having financial conversations, I typically have the doctor change their title. A treatment coordinator is a salesperson. You are a consultative salesperson. And people are afraid of the word sales. And I will often meet treatment coordinators and I'll ask them, like, do you see yourself in a sales role? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, you are. I mean, you are in a sales role, but everyone is afraid of that word. Everyone is afraid, well, sales. And it's like, slow down. You know, I personally think sales is one of the best industries in the world. To me, I think that salespeople are the most resilient human beings because we have to, as many times as we get knocked down, we've got to get ourselves back up and we got to get back into the game because we have an obligation to serve, not really sell, but serve the person that's in front of us. And when I tell people what real talk selling is all about, and it's about taking patients on this journey to help them find a solution to their problems. It's not backing anybody into a corner. There's no, manipulation. When they can see it from that perspective, they're like, okay, then I can claim it. But a treatment coordinator is a salesperson. They are the most, to me, aside from the doctor, one of the most important employees that a dental office has. They just don't get respect, if you want my honest opinion. There's no respect for the position, which is unfortunate.
Why do you think that is, Sherrine? Why do you think they don't get the sort of respect that they need when they're so vital to the practice?
I think that dentistry is one of the few industries I've ever seen where we take one person and we give them like 8 different hats, maybe sometimes less. But it's very common that in dental practices, you got a treatment coordinator, but they may also be an assistant. They may also answer the phone. They may also order supplies. They may also, fetch lunch because the position isn't respected to the degree that that's all a treatment coordinator / patient concierge should do. The position in itself is watered down.
Mhm.
And because it's such a critical role and it keeps the lights on, it keeps the bills paid, it keeps payroll pumping. I think that if more dentists embrace the fact that really, because it's such a critical role, we only need one person doing it, and that should be their sole concentration in general, I think dental practices would be more successful. We just water down the role because that person typically has way too many responsibilities and they're wearing way too many hats.
Yeah, so from your side, you see the treatment coordinators and patient concierge being laden with other tasks other than the sales. Kind of like the practice manager is also, or the office manager has like multiple kind of hats as well.
Yes.
And they're kind of, yes.
Yes. If you are a true treatment coordinator / patient concierge, it is such a robust position that it's really the only thing you should be doing. Because it's not just presenting fees. And the way that I train is that essentially when patients come in, treatment coordinators are running the show from beginning to end. Okay. But a lot of people forget that not everyone is going to say yes the same day of the consultation. So what happens if you are a treatment coordinator and you're wearing 3 other hats? You may not have the time to follow up with that patient. So then that's another life that we can't save that gets like out there into the universe. Either we don't save them or your competitor gets them. That could be it too. And then if we do move a patient forward, we still need to love on them, because if we don't love on them until their treatment actually happens, they may fall off and cancel. Right? It's just a pivotal position. And I don't think there's respect for it. And that's sort of like a personal movement for me, is that people that are out there working in dentistry and closing cases, that they're able to get the respect that they deserve. And anyone who I train, I'm very overprotective of the people I train. You can ask anyone who I've ever trained. They're like my children. They tell, like, I tell them, like, you become a member of my tribe. And I don't want anything to happen to them. You know, I want them to get that respect.
I absolutely love that. And I think you've made a really, really good point. I guess it's kind of like, you know, when you have an iceberg and you only see the top, you
Yeah.
don't see the rest of it, like the entire like mountain of ice underneath. Because, you know, TCOs don't just do that, like, you know, half an hour, 45-hour consultation at the beginning. They're there at the start. And like you say, they're there throughout. You want them to be available when the person comes in for their treatment, so you can actually, you know, go from video to in person, those kind of things. So yeah, I think you're right. Like, it's what a TCO does, what a treatment coordinator does. Just, yeah, it's more than just that one call or one interaction. There are so many little things as well.
Well, you know what treatment coordinators tell me, Mike, which is really, I had a treatment coordinator recently tell me, this will blow your mind. I had a treatment coordinator tell me that she is happy when someone leaves the office and she doesn't close them because she's so uncomfortable. She does not want to have financial conversations. So she wants them to go home and think about it.
Oh
That's
my
deep.
word.
Yeah.
That's actually, I was going to ask you, like, what are the negative consequences of having the wrong treatment coordinator or not giving that treatment coordinator the right training? And that's a highlight. That's an
That's
answer, isn't it?
scary. Yeah.
That is terrifying.
Yep. And it's because she's not trained and she's afraid. And she was just like a lot of treatment coordinators going in at the end of the visit, what I call cold case presenting, because you're going in cold. You don't know the person, they don't know you. You become the money person. It's an awkward exchange. There's a lack of confidence. And that young lady said, Sherrine, I'm going to tell you this. And she knew she was telling me something that was like, oh my God. She said, I'm happy when they want to go home because then I can get out of there. Hearing that, I mean, like, that gives me a heart attack.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack, isn't it? That's a lot to unpack. So in my head, I'm thinking, so is she, because obviously if that keeps happening and the practice owner is like, well, you know, this particular person isn't closing the number of cases we expect, you know, is she more scared about having that financial money talk than she is about losing her job? Like, you know, is it one or the other? Like, I don't know if that's what she said, or
the fear of losing her position, I don't think was the issue, because I think as long as not every dentist is in tune with it. So like, if no one knows that it's happening, you can get away with it. She and this young lady had this job for a long time. She's been getting away with it for 5 years. So you do the math. If she lets people, I mean, that could be millions of dollars, right? And all she has to do is say, oh, well, you know, she wanted to go home and think about it, or she's got to be, you know, and I'm not saying she was lying, but in certain cases, I think, you know, she wasn't being 100% transparent. And some of the doctors, they're busy and they're just thinking, oh, well, this is normal. And it's not normal.
Wow. That must have blown your mind.
I couldn't believe it. I like, I've heard some stories, but that to me was, and I don't blame her. I don't think it was even that her intent was to sabotage. I just think she wasn't trained. And if there's a dentist listening, are they watching this or listening to this? Are they going to be listening or watching?
Probably, I think they're probably a bit of both.
Okay. If there is a dentist that is listening or watching this is real, what I am saying. And it can cost your business millions of dollars. The stories I hear from these young ladies that I train is unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. And I'm always happy when they find me because I can help not only change their perspective on what they're doing, but I teach them to understand, like, there are millions of Sherrines out there, like people like me who needed help. So when you have somebody in front of you, think of like that person being like a Sherrine, you know, somebody who was like beat up, insecure, tired, and needed help. You have an obligation to help these people. And when I put it to them that way, they're like, okay, you're right. I don't need to be afraid. So
Yeah, that is super powerful. And I just can't. So did you? Obviously not too many details, but did you manage to help that particular treatment coordinator?
we're still working together. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
perfect.
And we're making progress.
Oh,
And
good.
anyone who I train, I have a WhatsApp group that I put my girls and young men in. And I always tell them that we celebrate all wins, big and small. And it's not always about closing a case that we celebrate about. A win for that particular young lady would be, Sherrine, I walked into a room and I believed in my heart that I was going to get a yes, even though I got a no. That's a win because you believed it now. It's up here in your head. That's a win. The fact that you didn't close it, that's okay. But we're getting there.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. So when they walk into the room knowing that everything that they do could get a yes, but it's more down to the person that it's more the other person's decision to say no than it's their ability to not get a yes, I guess. That makes sense.
Well, I posted about this
Or
last week, is that in any area of sales, that success starts with, like, if you have your binder in your hand or something, I'm looking for my binder or your binder, and you're getting ready to, like, before you do that in your mind, you have to say, this person, I believe this person is going to do it. Like, I met with this person when they walked in. We bonded. Like, I know about their life. I know about their kids. I know about their pain points. I know what they want to do in their life. Like, I know their passions. Like, I even know how much money they have. Like, these are all the things I train my people to get. So I did all the hard work. So when I got it. You got to go in there believing. You have to go in there assertive. You got to go in there strong. You got to go in there poised. And if the person says no, they're saying no, not because I didn't take it to the max. There's another reason. And as long as you take it to the max, you're good. But you got to be trained to know how to take it to the max. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. I love that saying. I took it to the max. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, like leaving nothing on the table. Like, you did everything you could do. I love that. So we've talked about that particular case where you could be costing you thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions if you have got the right training. Are there any other negative consequences of, like, not having the right TCO or the right training for that particular coordinator?
well, I mean, I think by far the biggest challenge is you can't really have a prosperous practice if you don't have someone doing that. But I think um, you risk really burning out your whole team, because you do have some dental offices. When I do discovery calls and I'm like, is your treatment coordinator on? And they're like, well, no, we've got 5 of them. It's like, okay. So you have 5 people presenting treatment. And they're like, yeah. Because again, there's no respect for it, right? And so what you end up doing is you end up forcing someone who might have a better zone of genius to do something that they don't necessarily want to do. And then you have potentially 2, 3, 4, 5 people all presenting treatment that don't really want to do it. And their gifts and their talents could be better utilized elsewhere in the practice. So then you cause a lot of confusion, you know? And one of the things that I teach is understanding, like, your personality, your disc personality, how to sell and present treatment to either the same personality or the opposite personality. So if you're not in tune with the best person for that role and you're just having everybody do it, you're not even serving the use for your team. It becomes a team issue, right? Because they don't know how to speak the right love language. They don't even want to do it. So it can cause a lot of confusion. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
So I guess it's like, yeah. So who this patients come in, who do they see? Who's the best person? I guess they could be. I guess the negative side of that would be they might see different people, and that obviously ruins that kind of ability to build rapport.
It ruins the ability to build rapport. It ruins the ability to speak that person's love language because again, you're not trained to understand either your personality or the personality of others. I think it also affects the efficiency of the office because sometimes a lot of the one thing that and I've spoken about this in podcasts is that I am a huge, like, if you tell me that you send your patients to the front to collect, like that gives me chest pains. But that often happens is that, a doctor will finish with a patient and they're like, okay, go ahead and go up to the front. Oh my God. And to send this person all the way to the front by the front door to stand up and talk about treatment with the poor front desk person who's also like trying to answer the phones, greet people when they come in. Restroom is over there, coffee's over. Like, what? It
Mm.
just can cause a lot of confusion.
Yeah, definitely. So I think as you pointed out, like having that one person committed to being a treatment coordinator or a patient concierge is pretty important, and will really help your bottom line. Love that. So I think I might have mentioned that obviously this podcast is kind of for the new and aspiring practice owners. So when someone starts a practice from scratch, they might not always have the finances to employ like a full suite of staff straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But from your experience, how quickly should they try and get that TCO on board?
Immediately. That should be the first person they hire. Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hire for a newbie doctor. What I would recommend is that you hire a high performance, someone who has some type of sales background or is at least coachable. And let that person serve the role of, if you're just starting out, treatment coordinator as the primary, with that person doing some admin until you can get the money up and everything, revenue going, to find a full-time office manager, because you can't keep a business open if you don't have conversion. You have to have sales, right? So you have to have a treatment coordinator. So that off the brink, you can't. There's no way to do it,
Mhm.
to run your business without that person.
Yeah. So if it's a brand new Brody, so if it's a brand new practice, that's probably the only situation where you could have like a split role, just to get that
You have
kind
to.
of, if you have to,
Yeah.
but ideally not.
Yeah, ideally not. Yeah. Because I know what it's like to start a business. I'm a small business owner and I know what it's like to have to, you got to get equipment and this and that. I get it. But look, you need dental assistants, you got to have a hygienist. They're all critical roles. But at the end of the day, you can't keep a hygienist paid. You can't keep an assistant paid. You can't, even as a dentist, you can't keep you can't even make a salary unless you're converting cases. You got to have it. Unless the
Yeah.
doctor
No.
wants to close cases, the doctor could do that.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah.
But eventually you're going to get busy where you're not going to want to do that. You're not going to have the time because then you have to play doctor,
Mhm.
So
Yeah. No, I love that. And okay, so finally, what is your number one piece of advice for practice owners when it comes to treatment coordinators or patient concierge?
my number one advice, the one area that you should not spare it in any expense is training, professional case acceptance training, not from a book, not sending a treatment coordinator that's on your team to listen to learn how to sell from um, videos, that you truly set the money aside as you would invest in anything that was important in your practice, that you do not spare any expense to train your treatment coordinator to be your right hand. That's what I do. As I
Mhm.
train treatment coordinators so doctors get in and out of the office in 5 minutes. Doctors don't need to educate patients on treatment. They don't have time to do that. That's the treatment coordinator's job. They're to educate. They're to get warm it up. They're to get all the information for the doctor so the doctor doesn't have to go in. Tell me why you're here. Let me tell you why this is great. But doctors, they should not be doing that. They're the heroes. They're the doctor. They're the ones that go in and they deliver the news that the patient can do this based off of what the treatment coordinator believes the patient is hoping for. Because they can't diagnose. But a lot of the work that takes a lot of time, that's what treatment coordinators should be doing. And so that would be my biggest piece of advice. Don't be afraid to spend the money. It will be the best money you've ever spent. It will change your life, and you will see a return on your investment when you invest with the right person like myself. You'll see a return on your investment in 30 days, period.
Fantastic, Sherrine. That's brilliant advice. So, Sherrine, this has been fantastic. Like, I could listen to you all day. But I know, but I can't do that because you're a busy lady and you need to get off and save a lot of TCOs. But no, thank you so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to sharing this with the wider world, and I know people are going to get huge amounts of value from this.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I think Patient Boost is getting ready to do some really big things.
We're ready to skyrocket.
You're ready to skyrocket, but you're doing something that I think is needed with a lot of marketing companies, is that you're focusing on this and the sales, and you guys are wanting to provide all those resources for your clients. So I'm excited to watch you guys thrive this year and going into next year for sure. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Sherrine. And just finally, if people are interested and would love to talk to you and get trained by you, how can they reach you?
The best place is my website. You can go to www.realtalkselling.com. That's REAL talkselling.com. That's best way to reach me.
Perfect. All right, guys, I'll leave those details in the show notes. But until next time, Sherrine, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. You too.